Assalamu alaikum. Dear brothers and sisters, it's really very big honor for me to be here. For me, coming to India was really very seminal. And I think and I am sure that the experiences I have here will be very definitive in my life, inshallah, from this time on. These are my sincere beliefs, and let me tell you an experience of me before I start my presentation. I have visited many countries around the world, from China to America, but here only I feel myself at home. This is really. Thank you very much for your hospitality by your heart. Now, my friends, I will try to talk about a very challenging subject today. It was really difficult for me to engage in that subject because I will talk about human beings in Western philosophy, modern Western thought, and in Islam, in Bediüzzaman Nursi. Let me begin my presentation with the method I have. Maybe it's not a method, but let me. What I have understood from modernity and from the man in risale-i. Inshallah, this time is very short for me to have an exploration and go into the depthness of the subject. But inshallah, I will try to give concepts. You know, concepts are maps, inshallah. And then we will feed these concepts with the thoughts, inshallah. Now, to understand modernity, we have talked about much on a key concept to understand not just modernity, but all other worldviews. So, at the center of ideologies, religions, and things alike, what lies is human being. Understanding of human being is very key. So, human understanding, the concept of human being, is a map of mentality. If we look at the concept of human being, we can capture the map of the things. You know, maps are very useful to comprehend the things. Without the maps, we got lost. Not to get lost in the modernity, not to get lost in any ideology. What is the salvator? I am not sure if the concept is correct. Salvator, you know, that will protect us. To look at the mental map that is human understanding. That's very crucial for us. The key term for us is it. You know, maps simplify the things so that minds can comprehend. I will try to have a simplification in terms of modernity and Islam in the lenses of Bediüzzaman Nursi. Okay, what is the human being in Western modernity? I will have a critical approach. Of course, there are many different modernities. But from my point of view, I define modernity and the human being in Western modernity is humanism. Okay, humanism is a key concept. But what is humanism? Humanism, I don't know how it is understood here in this land, but in Turkey, when we say humanism, we understand love of human beings. But my friends, in my mind, humanism is not the love, but it is a very big cause. It's a very big argument. What is it? Putting the human in the center. That's very crucial. That's very key. By this key, we can open the door of modernity. Otherwise, we get lost. That's very important for us. But of course, understanding human being is really difficult. Now we just give a brief description, definition of human being. Briefly defining it. What is humanism? It is ascribing agency to human being. Ascribing agency. That definition, I think, is also important. With the concept, let's call it anthropocentric worldview. Okay. Now, with reference to human being, we define everything. That's also very central. Okay, but we cannot answer the question now. That it should be defined in more detail to be understood. Now let's look at the definition of human being in humanism. What is human being? For me, humanism can be understood by reference to individual. But my friends, defining individual is also very difficult. There are many competing discussions about the definition of what it means individual. I think here the concept itself is self-explanatory. I will look at the concept, and by looking at the concept, I think the concept will teach itself to us. Let's now look at it from etymologically. Individual means what? I think individual, in my mind, individual means indivisible. Indivisible means what? You cannot divide it. You cannot divide it. I think this is very key to understanding of human being in modernity. What does indivisible mean? Very briefly. Indivisible means there is not any authority. No one. It may be society. It may be any value, transcendental value. It can be anything. Cannot be over the man, individual. Let me say here that there is not individual in Islam. There is not such a thing. That's very crucial to know. Okay, if there is not any authority above and over individual, that means that individual as a human being is being protected against outside forces, colonizers. When we say individual, because individual is a negative command to some outside agencies and the centers. You cannot involve with it. It is by itself. It is in itself. I think so. You cannot touch on it. Just the willingness of the individual is very important here. Now, briefly defining again with a concept. So modernity has a salvationist language. It is salvating the human being from all outside forces. It can be anything. It may be God, it can be holy books, it can be anything else. Then that means that for me, you may agree or not, modernity deconstruct the status quo. Deconstruct. Because for modernity, because it is salvationist, for modernity, the past, what we have from past, inherit from past, are colonizers in a sense. That is why modernity is based on, stem from Renaissance. Renaissance means what? By turn, Renaissance means rebirth. Rebirth, yeah. Coming of the human beings into the world newly, a fresh beginning. Opening a new page. That means that. Okay, I should pay attention to the time. Now let's go. So, we destruct all the hierarchies over human being by the term individual. This is a very good conceptual tool to deconstruct everything above and over individual. So, individuals should be salvated. Then comes a critical point. What is it? A new definition is being made about human beings. What is that? Anything that is not individual is not human being. I think this is also very critical. So, any people around the world who is not individual is not human being. We can understand that from Orientalist literature and from Orientalist language. I think this is also very important. My friends, when leveling has been carried out by putting the individual at the center, a new hierarchy started to be constructed, putting the individual at the center. So, everything will be evaluated in terms of individual. But what is it that defines the epicenter of the individual? It is, I think, the benefit, the utility. Utility is now getting at the center of everything. Center means it is, everything will be defined according to it, and it becomes a reference point. Now, individual at the center means individual becomes a reference point, and everything else becomes a tool, not a meaningful book. Everything becomes a tool in front of individual. Individual can do anything he likes because it is at the center. And the commanding principle is utility. So individuals become godlike things, my friends, and individual, when human beings become individual, this is a kind of dehumanization from my brother yesterday talked about. This is actually a dehumanization. That individual starts to divide everything. It becomes for himself an individual, but outside world becomes divided. That's very crucial, I think, to understand it. Now, my friends, when we understand individual, everything is based on all the theories, sub-theories of modernity are based on that concept. This is the model. Look at, let me say, political arena, political sphere of life, social sphere of life, economic sphere of life. In political sphere of life, just an example, look at the nation states. All parameters of nation state can be understood by reference to that individual. It is independent. It is sovereign. It is, self-sufficient. It has its border, possessive, the land. It appropriates the land for itself. And everything outside that appropriate land is considered to be the land to be conquered, in a sense. That is, that the principle also becomes the utility. We call it, today, realism, the power. Utility empowers individual to conquer what is left outside himself, okay? Now here, in national state, the nation state is considered to be an individual, and it has the right to conquer the lands which are not appropriated by nation states, my friends. This is also very crucial for me, a kind of mental map. Let's continue. So this creates a kind of domination. Look at economic life. Economic life is also individual. It governs itself, regulates itself, independent. It puts its own rules, principles. What is the principle? Making profit. That is utility, the power. Okay, let's continue. Okay, now I will omit some parts, my friends. Now, I will not talk about the problems of this, but shortly I will say, look at the cries of nation state and cries of individualism. They are coinciding. Do you think that this is haphazardly? The cries of individualism and the cries of nation state are coinciding. The philosophy is being wiping out. Now, let's look at, let me define this theory now. Modernism started with empowering individual, but ended with the cries that is depowering the people, the human beings. Now they understood that, okay, we are not human beings. The individual of modernity is not a human being. It is something else. They need to be treated. I think risale-i is a very good reference point because of Quran and because of the tafsir of this time. We can look at the years of the risale-i, the cures of risale-i to treat the modernity. We should not, pray for modernity, I think. In my PhD, I prayed very much on modernity because it's talking about freedom. But the freedom of modernity is something else. Briefly saying, modernity started with a very big argument. At the center, human being. Now, at the deepest of the deep is human being, that is individual. Now, how can we pull out that individual, first our nafs and our spirit, from the darkness of the modernity? Relying on individual himself. I cannot rely himself. Bediüzzaman Said Nursi says that. I think this is very, very important. Human beings are macro, maybe my pronunciation is not correct, macrocosmos. But it has the potential of getting macrocosmos, my friends. What are the principles that make human beings to get to be macrocosmos? That's very important, I think. What is it? He says that it's a very big burden. Human beings, although has that potential, they do not have that power, that resources. They should first arafa nafsahu. If you misinterpret your nafsahu, you misinterpret the cosmos, everything. So we should arafa nafsi. What is it? Bediüzzaman says, human beings are important. Az, Arabic. Fakr, shefkat, Oh, okay, we are very important, weakness, poverty, but our horizon goes outside the cosmos even. That means that human beings potentially are bigger than everything created. They can only be understood by Allah. Only by Allah. But to understand Allah, we should first understand our nafs. What is it? Self. But what is that? Bediüzzaman says that it has a clash with all premises of modernity for me in my answers. He says that human beings cannot possess themselves. No, they cannot possess. They cannot see in front of themselves. They can only see by the light of Quran. So Iman is very, very necessary. And Az is source of every richness, every power. And Fakr, to understand Allah, we should understand our fakriness, poverty, our weakness. Our fakr, we should understand it. If we understand, what is the informing principle? It is not benefit, it is not utility, it is higher. What is higher? Bediüzzaman says. Higher is not interest. It is the thing that takes us to macrocosmos. we will become a macrocosmos. This is a very high burden. But the Sirat-i Mustaqim, to know the Sirat-i Mustaqim is really very difficult. What is Sirat-i Mustaqim? It is the road of Quran. Khair and Shar. Shar are the limits, Khair are the road. We can go through, we use our importance factor as N in the direction, you know, and we drive our car towards İnsan-ı Kebir, you know, kainat. Okay, I think the time is left out, but now, my friends, let me finish. When we understand that potential, what can a human being do? Bediüzzaman says, şükür. Şükür is the essence of ubudiyet. Because we are so weak, we see that Ya Rab, a perfect kainat is serving us by willingness of Allah. We understand ourselves and we thank in every second to Allah. So, life is a territory, body is a territory for praying to Allah. That's very, very crucial. Now, let me finish my paper with some quotations from Bediüzzaman. Bediüzzaman says that Resulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam discovered all the tiniest faculties in human being and made that faculty very excited. A discovery, inward looking and a discovery. And another saying, quotation, to understand Allah, we should understand ourselves and all aspects of kainat. And to understand Rasulullah, we should read universe. Because Islam is coming from the kemalat of kainat, ef'al, sunnatullah. That's very critical. And Bediüzzaman defines Islamiyet as insaniyeti kübra. Perfect definition, my friends. İnsaniyeti kübra is Islamiyet. The closer we get to insaniyeti kübra, the closer we get to be human being. The more distant we become to Islamiyet, we become distant from Allah and Islamiyet. Now, the last sayings, my friends. Bediüzzaman says that Iman.
Dr. Sajid, please conclude.
Okay, I'm very sorry. Iman makes human beings real human beings. It is the unbelief that makes human beings as monster. Selamun Aleyküm ve Rahmetullah.